Welcome to Modern Entrepreneur. Today we have Rachel Schnorr, Joseph Hogg, Kristen Holly, Carla Johnson, Welcome to Modern Entrepreneur. I'm Landon Ray, and today we have Greg Kraios, who is the founder and CEO of the email analytics and deliverability company 250 OK. With more than 15 years of email performance acumen, Greg now leads a SaaS company providing advanced insights into email deliverability, sender reputation, fraud protection, and consumer engagement. Greg has driven the growth of 250 OK from humble beginnings in 2011 to now providing comprehensive solutions for clients like eHarmony, Furniture Row, Pinterest, to name only a few, including Ontraport. Thanks for being here, Greg.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome. So tell me about 250. I know about 250 OK, but tell us about what 250 OK is and what you guys do.
Sure. We're kind of an email analytics and deliverability platform. So we help people measure things outside of what a standard platform would do. It's a whole suite of tools that really just bolt on top of an ESP and help people send better mail and reach the inbox.
So specifically, you're, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, tell me if I'm wrong, but you're basically monitoring thousands of probably email boxes from every provider all around the world and sending mail, sort of like seed test mail to these providers and basically seeing where it lands.
That's one of our products, yeah. We also have a DMARC product. DMARC is anti-phishing, so we help you protect your brand. Make sure that people aren't spoofing your domain and trying to look like you.
Yeah, and so you're just validating that DMARC is set up, right?
Yes, and then all the data that comes back from ISPs, we then display that for you and help show you where those threats come from.
Oh,
Yep,
so
that's
like
another
failures,
from
DMARC failures, so, oh wow.
Correct.
So helping people see that they're getting, that somebody's trying to attack in their name.
Absolutely, or it also helps them identify mail streams they may not know about, right? So if you're a big company, you have divisions that may be registering domains and sending legitimate mail. It's not properly authenticated. People don't really know, like if you're a receiver, is this really you? Is it not you? I'm not sure. How should I treat that?
Gotcha.
So it just helps you identify those mail streams, then you can determine what's legitimate, what's not. Authenticate the legitimate stuff and put a DMARC record in place. And for the stuff that's not, you can hire somebody to go take down those bad guys that are trying to impersonate you, or just leave it alone, do whatever you want, really.
Yeah, awesome. So those are two products. Is that
there's a lot more. No. We also have a design product. So we partner with Litmus and Email on Acid, where we show you kind of how your HTML renders on different devices and mail clients and things like that. We also have a reputation product where we show you a lot of different things that go into your email reputation. It's really tied to your IP address, also looking at some domain reputation, but are you mailing spam traps? Basically like domains that have never been owned by a human being, domains that were once owned by a human being and now have been, or were inactive for a period of time and are now active again, as well as typo domains. So think if your point of sale or something like that and people are mistyping yahoo.com for their email address, we can help show you some of that through typo domains that we own, as well as some of our partners own as well.
Yeah, awesome. So all in all, helping marketers basically be conscious about what they're doing and make sure they're getting their emails into the inbox by using best practices. So tell me this, I'm gonna, because I've been doing email for a long time, maybe as long as you, maybe longer, I don't know. But now, I managed our email way back at the beginning, and now I have a team of postmasters that handles it, so I'm a little bit out of the loop these days. But my experience is that when we started back in 2006, 7, 8, that it was a lot more about some sort of like basic content filtering. If you said bad words, they would trash your mail. Some basic IP filtering. So if they captured some email, coming from your IP, they would just block the whole IP. Some pretty like crude cudgels that they would use to block mail, and it made it back then sort of harder for email service providers like Ontraport to manage their mail stream, because it would be easy for one user to kind of like club us down. And it seems to me like over the years, as the inbox providers, Google and Yahoo and others, have gotten much more sophisticated, and they're, in terms of how they're tracking individual email streams, not from necessarily from an IP, but from an individual sender, looking at where traffic is going, so domain reputation, stuff like that. They're actually able to now parse out the email from our, we have a whole bunch of IP addresses, but we'll have one IP that's doing great for a bunch of customers, and then one user all of a sudden is getting crushed because the ESPs are getting sophisticated enough that they know who the bad guy is. Does that seem like accurate?
Yeah, they've gotten way better. And like you said, it started off really with content filtering.
Yeah.
And so looking for like those bad words and other things. Well, that was easily beatable.
Sure.
So bad guys were always in front of that, right?
Yeah.
And we all dealt with mailboxes that had just crap in them, right? And with authentication, that really empowered them to start looking at reputation, right? And so it's not really about the content, it's about the source of the content. So think with content filtering, if you were a legitimate pharma company and you wanted to send email, you really couldn't, right?
Yeah.
Because all that stuff was, was attacked pretty heavily, and they thought it was all bad. And these guys are like, look, we're legitimate. We're a legitimate brand, have legitimate subscribers. We want to send them, not even in transactional mail, or something like that. And they couldn't do it, right? So now we look at things like reputation. We have things like authentication that tie that back to the domain. And as you said, it's not just really based on an IP or domain. It could even be based on the visible from address. It's not just one IP. Like, okay, most of this traffic on this IP is bad, or good, I should say. And then, maybe there's this one mailer on this IP that a lot of people don't like the mail from. So we should treat that a little bit differently. But yes, they've gotten a lot more sophisticated. Things like machine learning have happened. We've seen consolidation of networks, right? So Gmail's hosting mail for a lot of businesses these days. Yahoo hosts mail for a lot of other ISPs. We've just seen consolidation as well. So more data, better machines, more intelligence, better filtering. Yeah,
awesome. So what that ends up doing, from my perspective, actually, is sort of moving the onus of deliverability, quite frankly, off of the providers like us, because our job has gotten tons easier. It used to be that we had to police our customers super hard because one bad apple would take us down. Nowadays, not that we don't police our customers, but basically one bad apple can't take us down so much, right? We do have to stop them when we find a spammer, and we do that. It used to be that marketers would like hop from service provider to service provider to service provider, figuring out who was getting their emails delivered that day. And it seems to me that game is over. And now the onus of responsibility is actually on the marketer themselves to manage their reputation. So as a marketer, what do you need to do to manage your reputation?
It's really the same basic things, right? It's always obtain explicit permission, right? I mean, and now things like GDPR, we're seeing like, the world kind of coming to like a higher privacy standard. We're not there in the US yet, but I mean, just always explicit permission is best. Set expectations, deliver on those expectations, and you're going to do just fine.
So explicit permission means when people sign up, you're telling them specifically in words right there by the box, I'm going to send you emails and promotional content. Right? And by filling out this form, you give me permission to whatever, right? And then, so setting expectations, this is the kind of mail you're going to get. And then living up to those expectations, meaning don't send them other stuff.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, implicit, and I always use this example, is really, if I purchase something from you, it doesn't mean I want to be on your list. It doesn't mean I want your email, and a lot of people use that, purchase, and if I give them an email address for the transactional receipt or the shipping information or whatever it may be, next thing I know, I'm getting their marketing email, and I don't want it. I might have just come to your site because you have the cheapest price. I'm not going to be a loyal customer. I don't want your email. And people like me market as spam. Because it is. Because it is. In my eyes, right?
Sure. And so what do you say to the many marketers out there who feel like, damn it, that's my business you're trying to take down?
Yeah, well, it's not. It's, it's them not really, asking me if I want to be on their list. Now, if they want to send me one message, say, hey, thanks for shopping with us. I'd really like to stay in touch with you, have these great deals, whatever. They can send me an email asking me that. I feel like that's okay with most people, but I have to forget what I know because I've been doing this a long time, like you have, right? But the general public seems a little more numb to it. So that's why people like Gmail start looking at things like engagement, right? So, what does Landon really like? What does he look at? If I'm putting all this mail in his inbox, he doesn't open it, he doesn't forward it. He doesn't reply to it. Just looks like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
I may start putting some of that in the spam folder and see what he does. And if he doesn't dig it out or doesn't interact with it or whatever, then I'm going to put more of it in there, and I may put all of it in there, and then I might start doing it for all of their subscribers. So
not just this one person.
Yeah, not just one person.
Everybody,
it could be for everybody.
Yeah.
So you're playing a dangerous game, and from their perspective, from a mailbox provider perspective, your stats probably look much like a spammer if you treat it as a volume game, right? And not a personalization game.
Very good. So what you're trying to say is that if I'm a marketer, what I need to be thinking about is what a typical recipient of my email is going to do with it, right? And my future ability to communicate with the marketplace sort of depends on people, A, not clicking the spam button, and B, actually interacting with the email. So would you say, so you're saying when you say it's a dangerous game, what you mean is you're playing a dangerous game if you're sending in a mail that people are literally not going to open and scroll through and read.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, if they're not engaging, you're really starting to play with disaster.
Disaster being literally the possibility that your brand will no longer be able to communicate via email with the marketplace.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, super threatening. Great. I'm glad we got that cleared up. So now let's talk about your business. You've been at this for, you said 2011, is that what I said?
Yep.
Awesome, so 7 years now. Was this your first major business?
It is.
Yeah, good for you. And it sounds like it's going really well. We've obviously switched to you guys a few years back after having been customers of your competition for years before that, because they were the only game in town. We were super excited when you guys pretty quickly got to the place where we could comfortably switch over and not feel like we were losing much from that incumbent player whose name we won't say right now. But yeah, we've been really happy customers for quite a long time. Pretty excited about that.
Awesome.
Tell me about your experience putting that business together. If you could go back to the beginning and give your early self a bit of advice, what would it be?
No matter how hard you think it's going to be and challenging, it's going to push you in ways that you never thought possible.
Well, way harder.
Way harder, and just it never goes. I knew it wasn't going to go according to plan, but just the way I think it pushes and pulls you emotionally, in just ways you never expected, have been challenging.
So, could you give me an example? I mean, and I just want to point out that this is coming from a guy whose business basically took right off like a rocket ship from early on, right? It has been, from the outside going really, really well, right?
Yeah, it has. I mean, the first, couple of years are always tricky, especially when you don't, have a lot of experience. We didn't raise a lot of money. We are, the one thing I'm most proud of, I won't say most proud of, but very proud of is, we stuck to who we are, meaning we're Midwesterners, we're pretty conservative. The West Coast financial model didn't really sit well with me.
The VC world.
Yes, I mean, we didn't really go chase that model of, borrow a bunch of money, run as fast as you can, probably run out, go get more, and just keep doing that and doing that and doing that. And I think it's not only because of we stayed true to who we were, but also just the uniqueness of our opportunity. Like you said, there was one game in town. It wasn't, a highly saturated market. I didn't think it took a lot of money to really, get into the market, build something competitive. I'd been doing this for a long time, had a lot of relationships on both the ISP side as well as the ESP side, working with other deliverability folks, knowing a lot of C-levels. I was a consultant before I did this, so I worked for a lot of ESPs and helped them in different projects and different things. So for us, it just didn't seem like we needed to raise a bunch of money.
Give me an example of what was so hard.
I think it's just the grind, right? I mean, it just consumes you, and it's a lot of time, it's a lot of emotional energy, it's a lot of, highs and lows, right? You think you've got that next big customer and you're right there and you've had all these great conversations and the deal doesn't happen. It's just such a ride, right? And every dollar in those, not that every dollar is never not important, but they're so much more critical in those early days to get new customers, to show traction and to find out, why they won't sign, right? And some of it may be, like you said, wow, man, this is really great, but you kind of just have one or two modules of a platform that's very mature, and I can't just sub those out, right? And so it was just hard to really, land those customers and get that traction and kind of do it on I won't say on my own, but it was myself and an engineer most of the time doing quite a bit. So there's two of us really just grinding on it, and that's difficult, right? And it really just takes a lot out of you.
Well, congratulations for getting over that initial hump. That's a tough one. I can't remember when we became customers, but I think we probably were one of those people that were telling you that exact same thing. I know we discovered you very early on.
Yep.
And I think it was a couple of years before we felt like we could confidently unplug from that other system and move over. So I'm sure that we were probably not alone, and it probably happened real fast once you got it all together.
Yeah, you keep getting feedback, you listen, you reiterate, you come back to people and say, okay, now I have this, or are we closer? Now what am I missing, right? And you keep going. And in the meantime, you find all the other people that say, yeah, this is good enough, and I'm willing to take a risk and come on board, or at least give you a part of their overall business.
Yeah.
And that's really how we would start. It's like, okay, if we can't have it all, can we just have a piece? Can we just work with you?
Yeah.
Show me just a path to get in the door.
Yeah.
And so land and expand has been, huge for us, right?
Absolutely. So as a leader of now a 30-something person organization, what do you feel like your unique skill set is that has you be successful?
When people ask me what I think it takes to be successful, I can just say in one word: care. You can't fake that. When you truly care, it shows in your product, it shows in the way you treat your customers, it just shows in everything you do.
Yeah.
And we have 35 or 36 of the best human beings that I've ever met. There's great people, and we can teach anybody email or what we do. A majority of them, though, are also from a very heavy email background as well. But again, they're just great human beings. Their moral compass is always pointed in the same direction. We don't have to tell them, what decision to make or what's best for the customer or things like that. They just naturally do it because they're good people.
And what do you feel like is right now to get customers? You say you're growing pretty quickly. How are you doing that? How do you get customers today?
I was listening to one of your podcasts, and it was the same thing. I mean, it started with us with conferences, partners like you, moving them now from internal use partners or customers to resellers, showing them how they can drive additional revenue and customer retention by implementing our platform and things like that. So partners has been huge for us. Direct is actually growing really well. A lot of that's just coming through SEO and content marketing as well. We've really hired some great people who generate a lot of amazing content, so that's helped us as well. And we're very active, on things like LinkedIn and some other networks as well.
Yeah. As you go through this process of kind of getting to the next level in this business, it's starting to be a serious thing at 30 people. A bunch of revenue and a bunch of big customers as a bunch of big brands rather as customers. What do you feel like is the next thing that you're learning? What's the most important kind of cutting edge for you?
Wow, thing that I'm learning is really I've surrounded myself with some great people, especially at the board level, and just personal advisors that have started other companies and just leaning on them and their advice. But it's trying to maintain that culture and those people and trying not to lose sight of who we are, right? And I think you can do that at scale. However, I think managing the growth is also important. If you can, I mean, obviously if we were to really explode and take off, that's also a good thing, but how can you do that in a managed fashion to where we don't lose sight of who we are or our identity and things like that?
Yeah, it's a challenge. As you bring, especially as you bring more people in, you got a really cool thing going with 30 people, and all of a sudden you got to hire 5 or 10 more. And
the difference between 25 and 35 is massive. The difference between 15 and 20, it's like, okay, it's 5 people, but now it's processes, it's communication, it's all those things where before you could walk into somebody's office or desk and just sit down and do stuff. You can't do that anymore. Or we could just push code into production, and now we have partners. And hey, did we communicate that with them? Did we properly document it? Did we do all these other things? You want to stay nimble and agile and move fast and do things like that, but you also have to layer in processes and accountability and all the other stuff. So it's challenging.
It is a lot to learn.
Yep.
As you're doing.
Yep. And I have the thing I also say is just no ego. Just admit what you don't know. Surround yourself with people that have done it before and lean on them when you need to, and it's serving us well.
Yeah, good for you. So it seems like you're pretty early in your career, but have you thought about what big picture, like what it's all about, what you imagine your legacy will be?
Wow, legacy. it's a word I don't even associate with myself. No, I think a lot of things in email are broken, and we're pretty ambitious and we want to go fix it. So for us, it's continuing to solve the problem, pushing forward on things like product and partnerships and other things to continue to make email better, not only for people like us that are in different aspects of it, but for the consumer and that relationship that they have between a brand and themselves via email. I think needs to be improved dramatically. And as you said, in the early days it seemed very adversarial between mailbox providers and ESPs or even brands. And now we're starting to see a lot more transparency and communication, and they realize the thing that they all share in common is the subscriber. So how do we improve that experience? How do we make email better? And I think there's quite a long tail left in email, and a lot of room for improvement, and we're aiming pretty big to help people do that.
That's awesome. Cool. So Modern Entrepreneur, we've named it this because we're trying to figure out kind of what's unique about this moment. What do you think it means to be a modern entrepreneur?
It's a fun time, right? Everything is cyclical, and I'm seeing more people step out and take the risk, and realize that I'm not rewarded for whatever reason. It's not always about chasing money. It's maybe you don't feel rewarded at your job, or you see something that could be improved, or you're passionate about people, or you just want to get out there and do it, whether you're a single person consultant or you're starting a software business like me or you. Just seeing people take that risk, I think is fantastic, and I love seeing more people do that. And the people that do it that already have families are the people I admire, right? Because I was a single guy, no children. It's a little bit easier just to worry about me. The people that have families, man, I just really admire and respect those people a lot, because it's it's stressful, and it's a challenge, right? And to go chase that dream is, you have to be a little bit crazy to go do it, right? And believe in yourself and believe that you can go do it, because the success rate isn't very high, it's just reality, right? And so, watching people do it and seeing that happen, I think is fantastic.
Awesome. Hey, what a great conversation. Thank you so much
Thanks
for being
having
here.
me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, would you sign our wall?
I'd love to.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.